How's it going, ladies and persons? I'm Bobby Sixkilla. Back to the Divine Deception. We have 2 chapters that we know of left to go, both here in Thane's storyline. This one that we have the gold key for, and the next one presumably will have no key. If you hear any extra noise in the background, it's because I got a fan on, because it's the middle of summer and it's getting pretty warm, even though it's like 20 past 10 at night. It's 30 degrees, just about, not factoring in the studio lights, which make it much hotter, so apologies for that. Let's jump in, shall we? I'm excited to get to the end here, to be honest. Just to see how it all shakes out, because we've seen most of the different major groups take a hit. The Duats lost their leader. I mean, Yee's, I guess, the new leader there, but we saw the Duats leader die. We saw the girl, can't remember her name either, die. Yee's still alive. We kind of saw Governor Raja nearly get taken down by the contract killer. Art didn't really take much effect, although people are working on him. You know, we've seen most areas get affected, but let's see how it all shakes out together in the end. Nullifying the cut. The V-Hall. What a place to spend your days. You know, walking up here again, it really struck me what this place represented. This is the Duat headquarters. I mean, it's not like everything important about the Duats were there. In fact, to the Duats' credit, most important things are stored separately. But still, for all intents and purposes, this is Duat HQ. This is where people met up. It was right out in the open. And it wasn't like a secret or something. I mean, if you ask the average passerby, sure, they wouldn't be able to tell you where the Duat HQ was. But if you look into it, you can definitely locate this place. Locate it without too much trouble, for that matter. It's not like most Duat members were exactly built for subtlety. The Panthea police force absolutely knew about this place. And yet, what was being done? Nothing. This place is allowed to stand tall, just as a public base for a gang. Was this not the city implicitly endorsing the presence of the Duats? Their rule? Maybe I was being overdramatic, but I felt like I had a good point in there somewhere. I shook my head. Oh well. Not like this was teaching me anything I didn't already know. You couldn't trust most people to do more than live their lives. That's why you needed people like me. I made my way right into the front entrance of the V-Hall. Sup, Thane? To speak the name of the dead is to make him live again. Okay, not in a chatty mood today, I get it. Without another second of hesitation, I continued into the building. I knew the drill now. I knew how to walk with confidence. They might have been an uncomfortable role not too long ago, but at this point, I was feeling pretty confident in my ability to pull them off. Things had gone well so far. Many of the things I feared might happen hadn't come to rest. The real Thane never came back for vengeance. The secret contact Thane never became a problem. I'd been inventing issues, seeing phantoms where there were none to be had. At this point, I was borderline cocky that my identity wasn't in jeopardy. Case in point, coming to the V-Hall today. Functionally speaking, there wasn't much reason to. True Yi had called me over for a casual meeting. But that had outs. I could say I wasn't feeling well, make an excuse, blow him off. Hell, I could ditch the Thane act now. It having largely served its purpose. But instead, without a stated purpose in mind when coming here, I decided to go and meet up with Yi. That's where the trouble starts. This complacency, actions without purpose, that's where I start to lose myself. I made sure to remind myself of that as I entered the V-Hall. It was easy to be cocky in the abstract, but when you're back in enemy territory, a mere mask standing between you and death, that previously built confidence starts to slip away. As I look around the hall, I noticed there weren't many people around. At one side of the building I spotted Lara. She was talking with the other 3 Duat members, one of which I vaguely recognised. In the middle of the room, Zauchi and Shia were standing around, also in conversation. And in terms of Duat members in the main area, that was about it. Which, okay, I guess that didn't have to be a surprise. There wasn't a meeting happening, no particular reason to be at home base. Still, even for a casual day, this felt light. To a lot of Duat members, the V-Hall was like a second home of sorts. Oh well. Chalk it up to luck on my part. I looked around and quickly noticed something. Yi wasn't around. Correction, Yi wasn't around yet. I'd probably gotten here earlier, elsewise Yi had gotten caught up with something else. Well, no biggie. I just killed some time. I walked around the main hall somewhat aimlessly. Soon I got within earshot of Zauchi and Shia. I had no desire to actually join their conversation. Felt like a minefield that was easily avoidable on my part. Still, I wanted to hear what they were talking about. Simple curiosity, that. So, subtly, I kept pacing awkwardly and began listening in. He was hoping neither man would notice me and call me over. It seemed they were too involved in their conversation to notice me. Win for me, as far as I was concerned. Look, Cher, you're freaking out for nothing. It's Gia we're talking about. You know how she is. I do. That's why I know this isn't normal. I mean, blowing me off, ignoring me? Yeah, that's normal. Going MIA for a bit? Normal as well, sure. But it's been way too long for that. This isn't her going on a bender. This is her going missing. No. Now look at who's an overprotective brother. This isn't that asshole. I'm actually fucking worried. Worried about what? You think someone got the jump on it? How likely is that? Anything's possible. Okay, yeah, true. Let me rephrase. You think that's going to happen in Panthea nowadays? Without us knowing? The city's been duet turf for a while, me compadre. We got ears everywhere. If something happened with Gia, we would have heard about it. I mean, if it was just a normal something, yeah. What's that mean? Gia's been acting just weird lately. I've been seeing her less and less. She's got weirdly defensive about some things. I even caught her hanging out with Lara once or twice. So what? You think Lara had something to do with this? I just think there might be something more to her being missing. And I think you might be overly sensitive. Kick rocks. I wanted to keep listening in on this conversation. However, at this point somebody opened one of the doors to the main area. Seems like he was in fact here already. He must have just been busy with duet work. Not out of character for him. Quickly he pegged me standing in the middle of the room. I simply nodded at him and began making my way over to him. He just stayed where he was, leaning against the wall waiting for me. Before too long I'd approached him. Ah, Thane. How you been, buddy? How's life treating you? I've been fine. Fine, huh? Fine's good. If somebody was fine all the time, they'd have lived an above average life, I think. I disagree. If somebody was only ever fine, they wouldn't be able to appreciate it. Happiness only derives meaning from sadness. Oh, how true, how valid. How oddly philosophical of you, Thane. You keep calling me a robot. I don't think it's fair. So I decided to try and show more of my thoughtful side. He made an expression like I just told a very unfunny joke. Yes, do that. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, any progress on looking for Locke? I simply shook my head. Oh yeah. Sad to say, it's the same for me. The whole Locke thing is total BS. Fake name, fake story, fake identity, the whole thing. Still, as long as the man intends to operate in Panthea, he'll probably keep the identity, unaware of the degree to which he's under investigation. Duet intelligence never fails. Next time he pops up, we'll know. And this time I won't miss. Right. About that night, a serious expression clouded over Yi's face. If I didn't know better, I'd say I could sense a bit of suppressed rage coming from him. It's good we're over here. I want to, before anything else, just talk to you about this face to face. Before things have to go beyond that. I didn't like several of the phrases Yi just dropped. About this? Oh right. Silly me, you don't know what I'm talking about. Wow. Yi scratched the back of his neck, taking a moment to breathe. I got a report from Seth not too long ago. It was about the investigation of the Secretary Ghani murder. He's keeping you in the loop? Of course. That's what he's for. I just nodded. Anyway, he informed me of a very peculiar little piece of information. Directly at the crime scene, right by Ghani, there was a burned cigarette left there. Seth hasn't done forensics on it for obvious reasons, but based on the brand of smoke and surrounding context, it seems pretty darn likely that the cigarette was mine. They found one of your cigarettes at the crime scene? That's bad. Of course they didn't fucking find one of the cigarettes, that's what Seth's for. He handled it. Oh, right. So there's no problem. Not with the police at any rate. That's good. Honestly, this sounds too close for comfort. You must have gotten sloppy leaving something like that around. I didn't. Obviously you didn't intentionally, but you know, smoking's a compulsion. It must have been an absent-minded thing. At this, Yi let out a little chuckle. You know, at first that's what I thought too. I was cursing at myself, wondering how I could be so dumb. And then I remembered. I didn't bring any cigarettes that night. In fact, I made a point of bitching about forgetting to bring them. I remember complaining to you about that. That's right. Shit. Please don't let this be going where I thought it was going. That doesn't make any sense. You're right, Thane. It doesn't make any sense. If I didn't bring any cigarettes, how did one of mine get there? It seems downright impossible. Unless... Shit. Somebody brought one of my used cigarettes. Lara, obviously. Unless a trusted ally of mine decided to deliberately plant that cigarette in a half-baked plot to try and get me in hot shit. If that were the case, well, that would be straight-up active betrayal. Shit. Yeet. That bitch, Lara. Obviously he's going to assume it was Lara. Should have seen it coming, honestly. Damn her. I shook my head disapprovingly. Honestly, what offends me the most is just how paper thin her attempt was. I mean, a cigarette? Seriously? Did she really think that wouldn't get noticed by Seth? A super obvious piece of evidence wouldn't get intercepted by my contact? How dumb is she? Yeah, she really is clueless, huh? This goes to show the difference between her and us two. God, it's so annoying. Like, looking back at that night, it's so obvious. I mean, I thought it was fishy from the start. Marduk made her come. What a load of horseshit. We all know how she is. She could twist that dude around with a finger. If she really doesn't want to slum it with us, she could have easily avoided it. No, when she came here, she already had the cigarette on her. She was planning on pinning some shit on me from the beginning. The whole time she intended on a frame job. I mean, the nerve. The nerve indeed. Just, unbelievable. You know what this means, right? I nodded solemnly, not knowing what Yi meant. We have to kill her? We gotta accelerate things. If she's pulling moves like this, that means she's also acknowledged the reality of things. This is war. Unfortunately, like most optics, there's optics against being ones who fired the first shot. And the cigarette thing? Yi shrugged. It's a little weak as proof. We can't be explicit quite yet, but man, the moment that an opportunity presents itself, I just nodded again. She is a problem. That said, I trailed off. I wanted to get the conversation going in a different direction. To do this, I'd have to try and pull something a little tricky. Still, I thought it worth the attempt. Yi, I've been having doubts. Doubts? Doubts about what? About this whole thing. The whole duet thing. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Take it easy, Thane. Where's this coming from? I don't know. In some ways, you know, I feel like it's always been inevitable that I'd get to where I am. That I'd be a duet member. I'd really stopped to think about things for a long while. But the other day with the Ghani thing, seeing Aisha grieve like that? Yi nodded sagely. I see now. Running into some trouble with the whole mental separation thing. I'll get over it, I'm sure. It's not like I'm going to turn over a new leaf, dedicate my life to the Lord or anything. Still, it's weird. I've never had a problem with the killing itself. It's just the way of things. We're all mortals. We can all be killed, we can all kill. It was, to put it in a word, fair to kill someone. But seeing Aisha grieve over Ghani's death, someone I didn't even mean to kill? I shook my head. I don't know. It's been a while since I saw something like that. It's just a reminder of how unfair death really is. I don't just hurt the people I hurt the people connected to them. Every bullet I fire, it rips through the sea of people. And that's not fair. I suppose doxastic anxiety has some truth. Doxastic anxiety? Ah, well, I fear I might fall down a whole rabbit hole of digression if I try to explain myself too thoroughly. How to summarize it? Basically, doxastic anxiety is the fear of knowledge. Fear of knowledge? Fear might be too strong a word. It's more subconscious than that. Like, you know how vegans always go off about how horrible animals are treated for the sake of meat eaters? And you know, they're probably right, but you try not to actually think about it too much or seek out the information for yourself because you're afraid that if you do, you'll have to stop eating meat. And you really don't want to stop eating meat because meat's pretty fucking good. It's like that. It's the subconscious desire to not acquire or focus on information that contradicts your current lifestyle. It crops up in all sorts of walks of life. Most people have tons of doxastic anxiety, deliberately going against those anxieties, trying to learn information you might not like. Some people have coined that as doxastic courage. They assign some sort of moral worth to the mere act of acquiring knowledge, the idea being that even if everything you do is the most moral it can be, it matters less if it's not an informed decision. Whoa. It seems confusing. Yeah, that's the lane of discussion that gets deep quickly, and I find prone to logical recursions, but that's neither here nor there. Well, I mean, that falls down to the same, what matters most, intentions or the results, you know? I don't know. Intentions are nice. Like when big companies donate money to charity, you know they're only doing it to get a tax break. They're not doing it because they're good people or they give a shit. They're only doing it for tax breaks. But, you know, the charity still gets money. So, it's still a win on that front. I don't know. Honestly, doxacism as a whole topic of study is quite fascinating. This whole doxastic logic, a form of logic that incorporates people's belief in the logical operations. Doxastic logic has different types of reasoners and different levels of rationality. But it also proposes counterparts to both Gödel's incompleteness theorem of metalogic and Loeb's piano's arithmetic. Sorry, see, this is what I'm talking about. I got a nasty habit of tangents, and to be honest, I could talk about this particular subject for quite a while. Focusing. Okay, so you're struggling with the morality of it all again. Pretty much. Have you struggled with this for a while? No, not really, just a bit. Okay then. Yeah, I'd say that's natural. It is? God knows I've had these struggles. But I always end up settling on the fact that it doesn't really matter. And I'm sure you'll end up there too. It doesn't really matter? Look around, Thane. Look at my public place. At any public place. You know what you'll see? Or at least, well, I'll see. What? I'll see humans, for sure. But no humanity. It's just how we are as a species. People like to think they're better than criminals. More moral. What a load of crap. I mean, I'm not so nihilistic to say that genuinely good people don't exist. Sure, there's a couple of defects. But by and large, the fact that most people don't end up where we are is a combination of fear and complacency. People say that murder's amoral, but I can guarantee that if you put most people in a position where murder was the sensible choice, they'd kill. I think it's up because whenever you see humans acting immorally in ways they can get away with, they absolutely will. History's filled with evidence. You think it's a coincidence slavery was so widely adopted? It wasn't different times. There were plenty of people who knew and argued just how amoral it was centuries ago. The reason it persisted then was because people were fine with it. It was allowed. And things on that front has never really changed. I mean, do you... Actually, this comparison won't work. I highly doubt you follow celebrity gossip. Correct. Well, just take it on faith that the percentage of people who, when given any amount of power, use it to become complete creeps is incredibly high. I had noticed that. And that's just the people we know about. The ones dumb enough to get caught. What's that say? The people who are willing to abuse power are more likely to seek it out. See, that explanation would have held water long ago. And maybe it's partially true, but in the modern era, people can accidentally become popular at the drop of a hat. People who don't even want to become powerful can become icons thanks to the monolith that is the internet. When you look at those people, there's no change in trends. So again, what's that say? That so many people are secretly assholes? I'd argue it's a much darker interpretation. No, it's proof that pretty much anybody who would become just as fucked if you gave them power. That every human is really fucked. They just hide it. And they never have good opportunities to express it. Give any one of them the ring of Geiges, you'll see what I mean. Even when you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, it still makes sense. Working with a community, pretending to be friendly, yeah, that's useful. But ultimately, looking out for yourself, you can sure as shit bet that's an evolutionary trait useful to pick up. From Hobbes to Zunzi, philosophers have been saying it for centuries. We're all fucked deep down. Maybe we'll give you a few dollars to charity to make yourself feel better. Dollars that don't really do anything. Maybe that's the rare case of an actual angel who escaped a secret demon trait the rest of us got. But by and large, none of us are good. So just embrace it. The pain he causes is unfair. The world's unfair. Everyone's playing a personal game in life, looking out for number one. You just be like the rest of them. I nodded. That makes sense. Surprisingly, that wasn't a lie. As much as I hated Ye, I couldn't deny that I resonated with a good bit of his spiel. Certain parts showed clear traces of being warped by Ye, but on the whole. So that's what I fall back on when I start getting doubts. That or sometime... Ye stopped and took out his phone. Must have buzzed with a notification or something. Huh. What? Nothing, just, Hey, could you give me a minute? Something I need to look over. Go ahead. Thank you. I'll get back to you soon. This just might be important. And like that, Yi turned around. He walked back into the room he'd come in from. And just like that, I was alone again. I wonder what that was about. Well, whatever. I guess just have to kill some time. I heard some laughter coming from nearby. It was Lara and her group. All of a sudden, I got the strange urge to join in the meantime. That's probably dumb. And yet I found myself walking in their direction. And what'd you do after that? What did I do, Hal? Are you kidding me? I got the hell out of there. This elicited another bout of laughter. I mean, I think at this point, I had well fulfilled my civic duty. I leave the rest of the night between the mechanic and the capybara, and God. Paid my tab and got the hell out of there. I'm sure this would have been hilarious had I context. It was at this point Lara noticed my presence. Her face instantly soured. I can't exactly blame her for that, but I still felt slightly offended. Oh, look who it is, guys. Thane, the party animal. You decided to join us? I nodded. Huh, that's weird. You guys just look like you were having fun. How sweet. So you decided to kill some time by hanging out with us while you waited for Yi to finish ignoring you with work? Yes. Heh. He's honest. You have to give him that. Do you have a problem with that? I don't know, Thane. You tell me. Can you think of any reason why I'd feel uncomfortable in your presence? I stood motionless for a second. Then I nodded. Still, we are co-workers. I can't see why we can't put aside hostilities for some casual conversation. I'm just trying to be amicable. Hey, I can do amicable. I'm super open to being friendly. You just don't seem like the type. What can I say? I'm mysterious. You can say that again. The others seemed to be warming up to my presence slightly. However, there was an interruption by the sound of the door being opened violently. Yi exited the room he came from, and he did so with a smile that he couldn't quite hide. Instantly, he began walking over to me. No, not me. Lara. Hey everybody, got some news to show. Might want to see this. Zouchi and Xia took this as a cue to also gather up. What are you doing, Yi? What am I doing? I'm just trying to inform everyone of the current situation. Most importantly, I'm trying to inform you. Inform me? Yi, what's going on? Relax, thing. Just watch. Things will become apparent soon. Before anyone could say another word, Yi held out his phone. He held it sideways, with the phone showing a video player. After taking a moment to be sure everyone could see it, I pressed on the phone screen, and then the video began to play. And on the screen was somebody I didn't expect to see at all. I, Odin Deismer, am of sound mind and body as I record this video. As you can see, I'm currently in my study. Perhaps you can see a rather important document behind me. Sure enough, behind Odin on the table, I can make out a fancy-looking document. Much of it was illegible, but I could see enough to know what it was. It was a will. That document is a discussion of this little video. Art, Polly, as my two sons who work at my company, and as the two people I consider my inheritors, I'm sending you this video, because what I'm about to say concerns you both. And I've always been fair. You all should get to know what this ahead of time. Frankly speaking, I found both of you lacking. For Polly, I don't even need to justify myself. I don't know why you've recently been pulling this well-adjusted act, and frankly, I don't give a damn. Your most obvious defects that you've been polishing over are not the reasons you're unfit to follow in my footsteps. You are utterly lacking in business acumen, diligence, and ruthlessness, and because of that, you fail. But Art, this is the one that saddens me. You were so close, Art, so close. However, as of late, I couldn't help but view you as equally unworthy. You mimic my actions, son, but you lack my spirit. You can play an ode to my greats, but you lack the ability to play them as they once were. You're not as intelligent as you think you are, Art. You see the forest for the trees, lacking any perspective of a larger picture, a grander vision. Simply put, you lack spirit. Art, Polly, I deem neither of you my successor. So then, who shall I pass my legacy on to? Well, none are fit to actually succeed me. However, there is one individual I've been consistently impressed with. Though lowly in station, she has greater ability than I had even first recognized. She has been my daughter from the start. Well, had she been my daughter from the start, well, who's to say? I suspect she may have put both of you to shame. And so in equal parts punishment for you two, for your sloth, and reward to her for her ambition, I name Lara Naomi my successor. Upon my death, she will be willed my stocks in Olympia, equaling a 25% stake in the company. That is not up for debate. It is already written. I'm sorry, Art, Polly. I'm sorry you couldn't live up to what you were meant to be. Of course, the dead have no need for stocks, and I'm far from wasteful. As any intelligent man would do, I added a proviso to my will. Should Lara die before me, that line of the will shall become null and void. The distribution of my stocks will default back to the initial arrangement I decided upon. 20% to Art, 5% to Polly. So then, do with that what you will. Just like that, the video abruptly ended. He basically just put out a mark on Lara's head to get her killed. Just like that, all of us were in shock. Lara, however, was quick to realize what this video might mean for her. No idea why that's the case, but as she spoke, Lara began quickly walking away from the group towards the exit of the V-Hall. It looked like she was about to break into a sprint away at any second. Yi, for his part, simply calmly bent down. Then he reached underneath his right pant leg, and in a sudden motion he pulled out a pistol he'd stored away. Hey, where you going, Lara? I think we need to discuss this video, don't you think? Lara's face flashed with fear, Yi's with a grin. Both knew where this discussion would soon go. Time to break the flow. Yi, you carry a pistol? What? Fucking of course I do. How do you not know that? I don't know. You usually brandish that short sword knife thing. I sort of thought you had that covered on the whole weapons front. Not at all. You know, there's a good saying about that. Those who live by the blade die by the hands of those who don't. Anyway, as senior officers, I get to bring actual weapons to the V-Hall. It feels like a waste not to abuse that. Anyway, I've gotten way off the point. Lara, I know your natural instinct is flight, but this is big news. And the message accompanying this was also pretty big. So unfortunately, you have to stay around for just a bit longer. Got it? Lara hated this with every fibre of her being, I could tell. But she didn't have much of a choice. Yeah, so, obviously Art isn't super happy with this development. You know, he... Actually, you know what? Lara, would you mind taking a seat before we continue? Is that a choice? I mean, everything you do is a choice in kind. Lara's face flushed with equal parts anger and fear. Ultimately, she relented. She walked over to a nearby chair and sat down. Awesome. And then, you know, just for like super sure safety, why don't we just tie Lara up? Just to be sure. The hell? Immediately, Shio, who was standing nearby, put his hands on Lara, keeping her down. Zouchi, for his part, immediately went rushing away, likely looking for an implement to do the tying up. At first, Lara began to struggle with Shio, trying to get up. She basically succeeded before realizing that Yi had his gun out. He still had it trained on her. When she understood what further resistance would get her, she sat back down reluctantly. The other duet members watched this unfold at a distance. It was clear that they were none too happy with these proceedings. However, they were also not going to interfere at this very moment. And me? I was Thane. Stone-faced, I stood with my arms crossed. Eventually, Zouchi came back. With a bit of difficulty, he managed to tie Lara to the chair. Then he and Shia backed away. Is this really necessary? Lara was trying to put it on the air of casual annoyance. I was probably bored, but I could see that in reality she was just as scared as before. Probably not. I trust you have the duet's interests in mind. But you know, you can't be too sure. You've got a tendency to get emotional. And once you're acting out, fuck you. What was Art saying? Right. So to those who don't know, this is supposed to be something of a secret. But at this point the cat's sort of out of the bag. Art keeps us on his payroll for some pretty big bucks. It also keeps Olimpo to themselves. So we can keep to ourselves. Maintaining this relationship, to put it lightly, is extremely important. You could even call it crucial to the duet's survival. Do we understand that? He took a moment to let his words rest. Good. So now obviously this video has caused a rift between the duets and Art. He has, to put it lightly, questions as to why Odin was granting this stock to Lara. He doesn't believe this to just be some accident. He cannot stand for the stock falling into the wrong hands. As far as he sees this, Lara convincing Odin to will him the stock is an act of war. The question is it war by a rogue individual or war by the duets? To help us answer that question, he's providing us with the carrot and the rod. If we dispose of Lara before Odin passes, nullifying the cause, he's offered us an incredibly generous offer. One that goes beyond pure cash. It's a multifaceted proposal. Dispose of? Hold on, what's going... Alternatively, if we refuse to follow through on this offer, Art will not take this lightly. He will view this as an act of war by the duets. And while he still controls Olimpo, he will use the full force of it to see us crumble. Now, we've got some decent leverage backing him. I'm not saying that Olimpo can crush us like bugs. Honestly, Olimpo's got a lot more to fear from us than we have to fear from them. This last comment elicited a bit of cheering from Zouchi and Shia. But, Art isn't being rational, he's thinking about the best thing for his company. And the sad fact is, if we piss off Olimpo, that is going to cause problems. It will take a toll. We will pay a price. Which leads us to a choice. A choice? What fucking choice? You seriously thinking about killing a duet member because some rich fuck said so? Is that the duet spirit? I'm a senior officer, and this is how you're treating me? What a joke. Well, I don't know, Lara. That depends. Are you just an innocent duet member? Huh? Why did Odin give you that stock? Just chance? That doesn't seem very likely. I don't fucking know. The man's insane. So this is just the act of a madman, huh? It certainly isn't a plot by me. What crazy conspiracy shit are you on, Yi? Well, if this is the only evidence, this would surely sound ridiculous, but... You know, there's some other evidence you've been plotting things. Rallying special duet members to your side. You've been sitting on this evidence because, well, I had no proof. But this... Is this really the track you want to go down? Because, buddy, you're not the only one who has some shit to tell. If we're talking about disloyal duet member, why would we believe anything you have to say? What? These things you have to say. Do you have any corroborating evidence? Because without any of it, given the current situation, it will likely seem that you're just making things up in a desperate ploy. I mean, anybody with eyes can see that you are scared for your life right now, and acting irrationally. I don't think any claims you make right now would hold much water. Lara's face was pure hatred, but she couldn't respond to that. Well said, Thane. Well said. Look, I don't give a shit about the shares. I'll give them up. It doesn't have to be like this. Give them up? Give what up? Lara, you don't have to have shares to give away yet. You can only do that once they're in your possession, after Odin dies. And who knows what position everything and everyone will be in then? Who knows if you actually give them up then? What a load of shit. I think. Yi turned to look at everyone. It's pretty obvious what Yi wanted right now. This is the perfect chance. The power struggle of theirs could be ended right here, right now. But, unfortunately for him, There were other duet members present, ones with pretty strong Lara sympathies. He couldn't just kill them all. And if he made a unilateral decision right now, one without proper justification, word would spread. People would grow discontent. Probably didn't help that I had yet to do anything to really endorse his actions so far. He feared the backlash would focus on him. The Thane would end up getting the duet headship, being the only viable candidate among the senior officers left. Simply put, optics prevented him from sealing the deal. So he was caught. That I should report this to Marduk. I mean, he leads the duets. He should get to make the final decision. Fine. I trust Marduk's decision making. He'll see right through this obvious bullshit. Lara said this, but I could tell she was unsure. She was right to be unsure. I also thought that there was a pretty decent chance he'd rule alongside Yi, especially if he was the one who got to spin the story. Marduk had established Olimpo sympathies. He was the one who wanted the duets to avoid going to war with Olimpo. Great. It seems we're decided. So I'm just going to head into his office. Give him the scoop. You just stay right there, okay, Lara? We'll be back with our decision shortly. He looked over to Zouchi and Shia. Make sure she stays put. Of course. And with that, Yi began walking over to Marduk's office. Lara was tied up, unable to do much. Zouchi and Shia stood on either side of her chair. Neither had weapons, but they were proven fighters. Nobody would really want to take them on in these conditions. And the others? They grouped up, out of earshot of Zouchi and Shia. Clearly they were having their own discussion, deciding how to handle things, whether or not to intervene. Please, reconsider what you're doing here. This isn't rational. You're being swept up in the moment. Surely there are better solutions than this. You're being taken advantage of. Shut up. Zouchi smacked Lara in the back of the head. Think about what you're doing, all of you. Put politics aside, personal feelings, your desire to keep rising up the ranks, everything like that. Just put it aside and think. Look what's happening right now. I am a duet member. Us duets are supposed to be a family. One blood. Our only allegiance is to each other. Except I guess not. Look at how eager Yi was to go along with someone else's request to have me killed. To go along with Art Deisman. Isn't he like the antithesis of what this place is supposed to be about? And we're listening to him? Look at how quickly Yi threw me under the bus. What does that say about him? If he's willing to do this to me, what's to say he won't do it to you? If being a duet member doesn't protect you, what sort of precedent is that setting? What path is that creating? I know we've had our differences, but please everyone, think about this. We're all humans. I'm another human. I know that morality has never been our thing here. But we had one oath. Stick together. Strength in numbers. Duets never die. If you kill me now, that last shred, that one oath is broken. If you do that, you're truly hopeless. You have no borders, no conscience, you're an amoral monster, the type kids are warned about. None of you should want that. None of you are. There's a difference between being a criminal and a villain. This is that difference. If you keep yapping, I'm gonna get Yi. And with Zouchi's last threat, Lara went silent. For my part, I just paced around, thinking, what should I do? What could I do? On the face of it, the answer was obvious. Nothing. Simple as that, I just do nothing. I mean, this is what I wanted, right? Cause schisms among the duets. Well, this is a fucking schism. If I let things play out, a vital civil war is likely to start. And that sure as hell seemed like a ground bed for opportunities. I could just let Yi do the work for me. And I mean, anything I did to try and stop current events would obviously blow the Thane character for good. It'd be a danger for no reason. I didn't owe Lara anything. Not really. I barely know her, grand scheme of things. She was a gang member, a criminal. She asked for this life, got into it with two eyes open. This is the risk she assumed. Maybe she didn't deserve death, but you couldn't call her a good person. Not really. I didn't need to do anything. If I was smart, I shouldn't do anything. But Lara's words resonated around my skull. I did not, at least in name, act for justice? Was there not some element of making a better world, tearing down the worst one in my actions? I'd never kid myself into thinking I was a great person, but did I not at least think myself as a good one? In the past, the suffering I brought about was always in the name of something better. The people who got hurt deserved it, or at least had knowingly brought some part of pain upon themselves, except Secretary Garni. The actions I did were my only real choice, when you thought about it. I did them for the sense towards the greater good. But those excuses, they didn't really hold up here. None of them really did. Letting Lara die here was a bad thing to do. I have a way to get her free. Letting Lara die didn't really serve the greater good. Or even my good. I mean, thinking about it some more, sure, having Lara die here would cause schisms. But when you thought about it more, having her live out of the situation would probably cause schisms just as well. If she died, power would be maintained by Art. Why was I doing Art's dirty business for him? Actually, thinking a few steps ahead, if Lara could, and then, if I then used, okay then, this didn't need to be a moral choice, not anymore, because with a bit of thought, saving Lara actually happened to be the perfect opportunity for me. It was in my self-interest, so I didn't have to make a hard decision, I just had to make an easy one. So now, how to actually get Lara away? Well, it wasn't an advanced plan, but it'd probably work. For starters, in the name of time, I did a bit of pre-pro. I walked over to a spare sheet of paper sitting on some table. I quickly jotted something down and tore some of the paper and stuffed it into my pocket. Great. Now, to start the actual escape attempt. I kept to my casual pacing. I just altered the direction a bit. Don't rush. I had time. Slowly, slowly. Now. I was walking by the other group of Duet members. Not right next to them, but close enough. Those were all Lara supporters. They should be willing. As I walked by, I spoke in a very low voice. One that only they'd be able to hear. There's a power breaker in the nearby room, right? Cut the power. Kill the lights. Do it, Lara lives. Tell anyone I helped, you die. I didn't turn over to them. I didn't stop. I just lightly said this as I walked by. And then I kept moving. Hopefully one of them were listening to me. And sure enough, I heard the set of footsteps moving. Probably going to cut the breaker like I asked. Awesome. Which meant I had a limited amount of time to get in position. Better hurry up. Except I couldn't alter my speed without arousing suspicion, so I just casually paced towards Lara. Tied up next to Zouchi and Shia. I paced right past them. Then I turned to the left and began walking right behind them. I'd already established I was just pacing by myself for a while. I mean, that's what I legitimately had been doing for a bit, so this shouldn't be suspicious. The question was, what's the distance I'm looking for? Let's see. I minded the space between myself and the chair. How many steps in that direction? How many now? What about now? Now? And now? God, what was taking so long? The breaker box shouldn't be far. Maybe I should have told them to hurry. If this takes any longer, I'd pass right by them. Probably not enough time to pace in this direction again without being more overt. So I really need to happen. Just when I needed, one of Lara's supporters followed through. The lights in the V-hall were cut off at once. Everyone was temporarily blinded. Emphasis on the temporary. There were some windows, doors, etc. Light would make its way in before too long. People's eyes would adjust before too long. But I didn't need long. I needed exactly a couple of seconds. Man, I'm not going to skip it, but I'm going to fail anyway. Let's do it like we always do. Immediately, I began bolting towards Lara. I took the number of steps I'd counted out in my head. Hopefully I was accurate enough. 6, 5, 7, 4, 8, 6, again, 9, 6, yes, I felt the chair, great. As I was rushing over, I pulled out the knife I'd stuffed in my pocket. See, bringing a gun kind of felt like overkill, but I'm not stupid, always have some backups. A simple knife afforded me a lot of options, in combat, and at times like this. In the darkness, I tried cutting through the ropes. Hopefully I wouldn't stab Lara, but if I did, oops. Slash stab, slice rip, slash cut, slash. Ah man, my mouse disappeared again. Why does it do that? Alright, yeah, I know. But slash came up twice, didn't it? Slash stab, slice rip, slash cut. I don't know which one they want. Rip? No. Cut? Cut was the last one. Oh, none of them. I see. I mean to do nothing. It's one of those ones again. Man, I just lost all my chips right there and then. Rip. Great. Without too much effort, I was able to break the ropes. However, I felt a force coming to my left. One of the guards was blindly reaching out. Time to act quick. Punch, knee kick. Headbutt, knee tackle. Charge. Knee. I threw a knee blindly. It ended up contacting something. I heard a shout of pain and that was that. Alright, exit strategy now. Sprint, flee, grab. Run. Sprint, hide, grab. Grab. I grabbed out where Lara should be and felt something that seemed to be an arm. That'd have to work. I gripped tightly and began running in the direction of the front exit. I heard a higher-pitched shout. Must be Lara. She had no idea what was happening. The idea of her being grabbed and pulled in a direction must not have seemed too appealing. However, either she caught on quick or she felt truly out of options because after a second of resistance, the arm began running in the same direction as me. Great. Ambush. Run. turn, run, stop, run. Oh, nothing. Nothing? The two of us ran as fast as possible to the front entrance. At this point, it was least memory, and the bit of light coming through the bottom was in the top of the door. At this point, I could see where we were going. Great. It also meant that the people's eyes were likely readjusting. I wouldn't have a lot of time. That's fine. It's possible I'd be abandoning the main character here and now, but I wasn't doing this thoughtlessly. I'd bluffed my way through everything before this, and I'd let myself enough pieces to use. I just have to make my last and greatest liar's thing. And we'd see if it stuck. Regardless, that was in the future. For now, I was running, and I'd reached the door. I burst through. I lost all my chips though from that one piece. Fuck. Just like that, Lara and I were on the outside world. What the hell? Keep running. I let go of Lara as a sign of trust and kept running away from the vehicle. Lara's face was confused and scared and annoyed, but through it all, she kept running in my direction. What's going on? What are you gonna... I'm not gonna do anything. You're gonna escape. You're welcome. I don't... Huh? Why? After everything, why are you saving my ass like this? Why, huh? Let's just say I'm paying it forward. Actually, that's stupid. I'm doing this for myself, like always. It helps me if you don't die here. I don't get it. You don't need to. Look, I took out the crumpled sheet of paper, then I handed it to Lara as we continued to run. Contact this person. I know you don't trust me, but if you want your best bet at making out of the situation not only alive but ahead, they're the best person to contact. It's Laverna. Really? So what, I trust them? They can be difficult, but I trust they'll know what to do. More than me or you at any rate. I don't have the slightest idea what's going on, but thanks. And like that, Lara picked up her pace. And for my part, I slowed down, until eventually I came to a stop, and Lara made her escape. Well then. How about that, huh? Personally, I'm impressed. Why? How'd it go about this? I see. You're familiar with the trolley problem? Yes. I know, it's cliche. Relax, I'm going somewhere with this. Simple stuff. There are 5 people on the trolley track, 1 person on another. You flip a switch, you redirect the trolley to hit 1 person. Should you flip the switch? Obviously, yes. Pretty much everybody says that. You're not unique for being utilitarian in the easiest contest. I wouldn't say yes, personally. I know that's the answer you're supposed to give. That's the courageous answer. But, honestly, I'd rather just do nothing, personally, than be personally responsible for another person's death. Though that's just me. I don't think I could live with myself. If I did flip the switch. Then we have to follow up that philosopher's love to follow up with this. What if you could stop the trolley going to run into 5 people by pushing a fat person onto the tracks yourself? Well, it's the same thing. You're personally responsible for the death of that fat person, or you're personally responsible for the death of the other person you switch the trolley to. Oh, now it's different. People don't want to do the utilitarian thing. What a clever trap. How intelligent these question askers must be. A load of horseshit. People change their minds not because of any culpability argument. They change their minds because in this scenario, you're just pushing a dude into some trolley tracks. In what world is that the rational line of thought? You wouldn't know that shoving that person in front of the trolley would stop it. And even if you did, you wouldn't trust yourself enough to know that you're right. In all likelihood, if you push the fat person, you'd likely be killing 6 people instead of 5. The question is dumb. And by the way, why does the person you shove have to be fat? No, it's not because the fat person could block the trolley, because that's not how anything works. At first I was unsure if his body would actually stop the trolley, but then I remembered Tom would be hitting up the steak shack pretty often, and I figured I'd chance it. I think philosophers just like killing fat people. I digress. The point in this question has some issues. I actually think a better follow-up question is this. You're a famous and talented surgeon. In your hospital, you have 5 patients dying of critical disease, 1 that has an infected heart, another infected lungs, a 3rd infected spleen, and so on. You're out of organ transplants, and the patients will die if they don't receive immediate help. At the same time, you have 1 patient doing a normal checkup, perfectly healthy, and 5 clean organs, ready for the taking. So then, do you kill the poor schmuck to save the other 5? No. Yes, this sets the stage much better. You have time to deliberate. You're an expert. You can be sure this will work. You know you can get away with it too. As a medical genius, you can make the healthy patient look as though they passed through natural courses. So, become a killer to save 5 lives. The question isn't a utilitarian one. That's already been settled back with the trolley. All 6 of the people did nothing wrong. The ones with the disease organs just had bad luck. The right thing to do is absolutely sacrifice the 1 to save the 5. The question is, can you live with yourself if you do it? No, of course not. It's a question of agency. Agency is an important thing to have. We all like watching people with agency. I mean, imagine a story about someone who gets kidnapped, forced into a dangerous situation and reacts the whole time. Total snooze fest, right? Who'd want to see that? It's one thing to control your own reactions, another thing to have the power to influence others proactively. It's that second trait that we all admire, really. We covered it because it's something that most people lack. Most people don't have agency in their life. They just want to wander from day to day reacting to their schedule. Which brings us back to Thane and why I'm content. Letting Lara die was the easy thing to do. The passive thing. No harm, no foul. Another sinner down. But Thane decided to take agency into their own hands and make a proactive move. That's the initiative I love to see. Might they have had an ulterior motive for doing this? That's fine. I don't really care about that. I just care that Thane played by their own terms. And that's why I was impressed. Just in case it's not clear, I'd obviously make the right choice in the surgeon scenario. I'd kill the person with the infected heart and use their organs to save the other 4. Easier to disguise their death, you see. Okay, calm down. We've only got 1 chapter left, as far as I'm aware, unless something happens once all the chapters are done. But, yeah, we only got 1 chapter left. And we kind of know what's already happening anyway. This is before Marduk gets killed and Lara gets killed. Because Lara gets killed later by Yi anyway, despite all this. So, we kind of already know what's going to happen, but I guess we'll see it with our own eyes very shortly. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out for me, and I'll see you in the next one.